Well, Jean-Jacques and I met the year he began polyphonics. So just before he came, I looked on the internet to see, and they said polyphonics started in 77. But then you said 79 was the first real, I mean, was that the first festival of polyphonics? So that's what but I wasn't in the first. What happened is I was either performing in Paris or passing through from somewhere, but maybe performing. And Jean-Jacques and I had never met in 79. So he came by, we got together. And he said, I want to invite you to Polyphonics, but not this year because it was happening, I remember it was in sort of February, so it was happening in the spring, and there was not enough, like I said, he would have to get me an airplane ticket to come to Polyphonics. But so I came the next year, he had the second Polyphonics. So, and this was late in our relationship, my relationship with Paris, because I first came to Paris in 1958, in the summer, and 59 in the summer, the tour passing through on the way. And then my first connection with this world of ours, the Poésie Sonore world, was in 1965, where I did a collaboration on one of my poems with Brian Geisen, and we made a sound piece, which was my introduction to sound Poésie Sonore. And he said, send it to Bernard Heitzig, which I did, and Bernard Heitzig presented it in a biennale at the Musée d'Art Moderne. And that started a relationship. And then I came to Paris in 72 and stayed with Bernard Heitzig in Quai Bourbon, as you know. And it became, and so I became friends, and I came almost every year or every year and a half. And so I had been, in those years, 5 years or 6 years, was a long time. And so I didn't meet Jean-Jacques until 79, and then we became good friends. There were so many polyphonics, I was just thinking before you came, which I was also going to look up on the internet, where that first one was. In 79, was it, and it was then the next year, 80, was it in the American Center? Do you remember those?
Yes.
Because every year was in the American Center. So the early years, and the next year I came and performed in this legendary American Center. And everybody gave, everybody was young and gave great performances, and then the next year maybe I came again, maybe the next year after that I came again, William Burroughs came, we were on a tour, it might have been his 70th birthday or no, then, and then another year, Jean-Jacques, this is like 5 years later, Jean-Jacques and Bourges organized this great festival honoring William Burroughs' 70th birthday, yes. With Jajuka, just countless great performers, and it was another, each festival was great. And the other thing that happens, and this is true for all poetry festivals, for poets, is that it's the one time poets get together. Because we all live our lives, and in your life, you're like me, I don't know, so I live with an artist, so I know more artists than I do poets. The poets are, you don't. But in festivals, you get this group of people that's a collection, chosen at this one moment, that's unusual, and then they're all poets. They're often very different. So it's a sense of community. And then, happily, with a festival like Jean-Jacques, it's been going on for so long that all of us have been friends over, what is it, almost 40 years now. And this is a real sort of family in the sense. And more than no other festival has survived this long. So this group of people, this extended group of people is family-like, which is unusual. Even though families are great, they're often not there. And they're not necessary either, but somehow when it does work, it's nice. I was in Flux and it was in other cities, like it depends, but it was all short-lived, like in Amsterdam. There was something called the One World Poetry Festival, and that was in the 70s, and it was sponsored by the natural gas they had. There was a little bit of abundance of money, so they had these festivals. And so the gas ended, so the money dried up, and Ben Posset, the organizer, died, and that ended the Amsterdam scene. But then there was Rome with a whole bunch of people during that. They did the Roma Poesia, etc. So it was other places. But Paris always was very special because it was ongoing and continuous and multifaceted, and it was a group of people that many times the same group of people, but endless people were included in it. And different festivals were always different, so it was an evolving group that made it every year, or however many times a year, sometimes I went to these two in a different city. Besides, it was changing because to get Mary Baraka here one year with his wife Amina, that's one set of airplane tickets and one set of problems, and then another year is a bunch of people. However, it was Americans, Gary Snyder and Leroy Jones and Gregory Corso, and many times with Allen Ginsberg. And so every year that I was here, there was always a different configuration, that although often it was with Alan or William or not, And so everyone would, every one of those festivals from the 70s, so what is that, 3 or 4 decades, had the spontaneous magic of the moment, and whatever the configuration was, And there's certain ones like Michelle Matai and me and whatever who somehow are still alive and still continue, and as like at the memorial for Bernard Heidsieck, but a couple of months, but in September, and so that was great. And then I have sort of this other good fortune with Paris, is that because Bernard Heidsieck and François Jeannick, who are friends, and I had the freedom to come to Paris and stay with them on Quai Bourbon, which is very unusual because generally we all go to poetry festivals and they pay for 2 nights, the night you arrive and the night you're there, and then you're happy to leave this 2-star hotel the next day. But in Paris, I could come early and stay later. If I was just passing through, I could stay at the Heights. So this created a world for me in Paris and this is, again, 40 some odd years later, that created a world for me that I have a life here of many friends, like you, Hopi. and so this was the usual, and this is sort of a part of this world of polyphonics. It's all of my friends are people who performed all the time at polyphonics. So this is a part of this extended family in Paris. Well, Jean-Jacques and I have been friends for ever since, but we sort of have a bigger thing because we were around here in the '60s. Jean-Jacques very much in the Beat Hotel, and I was around at the same time. I was in Paris in '58, and not in the Beat Hotel. But we talk about it like these days. Like we had dinner the night before last, and there's it's really interesting to remember those. Only he and I were there, and have a clarity of them. And we're in complete agreement what happened, and remember the same things from different points. It was interesting. We were talking about talking about Alan and Duchamp. So we all have and all sort of a bit sharp and critical, but they're real. So this is so Jean-Jacques and I have that sort of, that's from the '58 to now.